Well, I would like to say a few words about Dr. Lemus. He's not only a great friend, but he's a respected scholar. I've known him for many years, almost 10 years now. He has traveled to India to help communities over there. He has traveled to Thailand to teach there. He's an active member in his community in the United States, and he's a great researcher. Last year he published a book in Cambridge, which is one of the most prestigious publishers in the world. And because of that, the International Academy of Social Sciences nominated him for an honorary doctorate in diplomacy. He is a diplomat internationally because he promotes peace, he promotes cooperation, and he promotes basically research. So, in the name of the Academy of Universal Global Peace and the International Academy of Social Sciences, I present the degree of Doctor of Diplomacy, Honoris Causa, to Dr. Edel Lemus.
Good evening, everyone. It's a truly an absolute pleasure and honor to be here tonight and to be a recipient of such a high honor, an honoris causa in diplomacy. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, briefly, I'm the interim Institutional Director of Research and Planning here at Albizu University. I have been immersed in different continents, such as in the US, Europe, and Asia. And throughout my auspicious ability, through my international travels, I have been involved in humanitarian projects. And those humanitarian projects have been in Cuba, Brazil, India, and Thailand. And I think it's very important when we talk about the humanistic approach, just to be able to show kindness and respect for your peers and endeavors. And as an acceptance of such a high award honor, I have prepared a brief acceptance speech where I would like to first thank God, my family, colleagues, Diplomatic Society of St. Gabriel, and the international diplomatic community in an effort to promote global peace around the globe. I would like to commence the speech with two questions. This is the way we live now. Can diplomacy and economy have an effective dialogue? Who's driving the economy? We talk about diplomacy, but as a researcher, I always ask myself, what's the meaning of diplomacy? Where does diplomacy was born? The term diplomacy was born in 1648 under the Treaty of Westphalia. This is about 5 centuries ago. Diplomacy is built in 3 pillars: effective dialogue, negotiation, and representation in the international market. A fundamental aspect in public diplomacy is soft power. So, Joseph Knight, at the end of Cold War, he was the one that introduced soft power as an effective term of negotiation based on cultural values and population persuasion. Prominent scholars such as Adam Smith and David Ricardo suggested that mutual advantages must exist between 2 nations. Presently, globalization has led to the increase of trading possibilities. The representation of technology plays a vital role when we are dealing with domestic and foreign policy, international activism, and global security. The main objective of public diplomacy is to create relationships. There is a growing need of public opinion, where our state leaders' representative should become more benevolent, more responsive, and more acceptable to foreign policy. Today, we talk about 7 important aspects of diplomacy: economic growth and development, international peace and security, development in Africa, human rights, humanitarian assistance, justice and international law, counterterrorism. My hope is that public diplomacy would help us to equilibrate the political and cultural differences that exist around the world by focusing on prevention, sustainable development, and sustaining peace. As we talk about the definition of diplomacy, global peace, sustainability, keeping the good citizenship status around the world, it's really sad what just happened in Manchester City in England, where the suicide bomber who killed 22 people and injured dozens of others. We're living in an era where terrorism and fear is heavily promoted. My daughter is sitting here tonight. She doesn't know the true meaning of terrorism and fear. Now they're born with it. They have to live with it. It's not a position where we have to adapt. As you all know, Emmanuel Macron is the youngest French leader offering plausible solutions to heal France from prior terrorist attack. So we, as an international community, we're asking to be unified in one singular cause, to be able to speak one singular language, to be supportive to each other, and to be help and support those that truly want a true democracy, that want peace and that want sustainability. The US, Japan, and South Korea are concerned about North Korea tests. They continue testing and testing. What can we do in order to be able to prevent this from happening? As you all know, China is on the rise and having presence of growth around the world. So China is everywhere. And it's very interesting. The middle class in China right now is growing at a rapid pace. And in China, they don't talk about Donald Trump. That is really interesting. And it just caught my attention because in China, Google is prohibited. Facebook doesn't exist. But they do care about having a global presence and come as a country and to grow alone. As of now, the world leading religions are Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. In that triangulation, I always ask myself, where does the problem is generated? I think problems come from religion. And I think when leaders in the world of religions, they do not agree on those religious terms, and they don't agree on those common grounds, that's where we have all these phenomena that we're experiencing around the world. Greece may have to agree to postpone talks on the debt restructuring until after Germany's September elections. Mexican and Canadian officials said Tuesday that negotiations to update the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, with the US should be trilateral as a matter of common sense. And also we have to deal with the corruption that is set in stone by itself in Brazil. As we continue traveling around the world and coming along with the news on a daily basis, we have Venezuela. And tonight I invited a special friend, Manuel Corral, to speak about the position that Venezuela is presently facing, where we at, and what are the expectations for Venezuela as a socialist country to have freedom of speech, to have a free market such as Singapore and Hong Kong. Those are my aspirations for Venezuela, to have that free market that they used to have in the past. And nevertheless, I have a former student of mine sitting in this event, Angel Navarro. I have a very good recollection of memories, and he was one of my students at Millennium Atlantic University. And it's really interesting, what a small world. And it's nice when you can come together and see, I made a difference in that individual. And my philosophy is as follows: as long as I can make a difference in one person, I have already done my job. And this is what I do in promoting global peace and free trade around world, because nations can be free based on trading, and trading is a good thing. I don't understand why trading cannot be a good thing. And I would like to conclude with one word, just peace. I want to say thank you. Muchas gracias. Muito obrigado. Grazie. And I wish you all the best. Namaste.